It has been a tough one, not only for folks who have to clear snow from their property, but also you might be sweating pretty hard when you get those electric bills. There are public hearings about that problem, and joining us right now to sort it out and offer some tips on reducing those bills, Howard Schwartz, our friend from the Connecticut Better Business Bureau. Howard, always a pleasure to see you.
Same here.
What are you hearing from consumers about this?
Hearing a lot of angry consumers who, and there's no pun intended, were shocked by the last couple of utility bills. Some saw, for example, a $100 increase from one month to the next. And we're talking about people who buy their electricity from suppliers other than CL&P or UI. It's an open market out there. But Better Business Bureau and the government agencies have stepped forward to tell people, understand what you're getting into, and before you sign on the dotted line.
What are some of the pitfalls or possible pitfalls or things people maybe overlook before they sign those documents?
Well, we should understand, first of all, that since the year 2000, it became deregulated in the sense that you can choose your suppliers from various people. There are two types of rates. There are variable rates, which are very attractive, and then there are fixed rates. People who are running into the trouble, I think, went for the variable rates. And like any commodity, it's going to become more expensive when the demand is higher, typically in winter, typically in summer. The fixed rates might be a little bit higher, but you can lock into that rate a couple of months ahead of the cold season or the hot season, and that way you're assured you're protected from those price increases. It's sort of the way people lock into heating oil prices before the winter.
And you always get those notices during summer when you're not paying as much, right? I noticed that.
That's correct. And I think what's happening is people have looked at the attractive rates from some of the competitors on the variable rates, and they say that they were not notified of the price increases before they hit. And I know in my case, I usually pay $130 a month. It ended up being $300 some odd a month.
So it's nothing underhanded, it's just a means of you have to really understand what it is you're getting into, it sounds like.
You have to read very carefully and go to the website of the supplier and read terms and conditions. This is something we've discussed many times before. And the type of increase we're talking about that's got people so angry and why we're having these hearings is at the time that the Attorney General put out his warning about this. CL&P was charging 8 cents per kilowatt hour, 9 cents, and some of these folks went up to 24 cents per kilowatt hour. So we should be going to ctenergyinfo.com where you can compare those rates, lock in before the cold months, and it's a good bet that those rates are going to rise, as does the demand. Read the plan details carefully, whether it's variable or fixed, and for how long, and what the penalty is for canceling, let's say 3 months into a 6-month agreement. Avoid peak periods, and that's usually between 6 and 10 in the morning, 3 and 9 in the afternoon. Weekends are off peak, so check with your provider for those details to save your laundry for the weekend. And turn off those parasites. We're talking about computers, any gadgets that have a transformer, such as a power supply for printers and chargers. Put them on a power strip, turn that power strip off when you're not using them.
Because they're using energy even when they're powered off.
That's correct. If you touch them, you'll feel they're warm. And like my dad was a utility cop at home. He would go around closing lights to make sure that we did, and as well, close your curtains because windows can reflect cold air into the room.
That's interesting too. Now, I didn't catch that last item on that full screen that we just had, and I apologize for that. It was right after the avoid using the parasites, but
oh yeah, be an electricity cop.
Oh, okay, like your dad.
Like my dad, he was right.
So, all right, so when it comes to these utility bills, it really, like I said, it sounds to me like they're legitimate, it sounds like. And I know that the past doesn't predicate what future is going to be, just like investments. But if we can look back the last few years, which has been the more favorable, the variable or the fixed rate electricity rates? Do you know?
Well, the variable is exactly that. What you can do is check your utility bill, and they do give you a year-to-year comparison, and that gives you an idea of your usage. But with regards to the per kilowatt hour, it's not going to show that, the rate. And I think that it's a fairly safe bet to say that if you've got a really sweet introductory price, it's going to be a variable rate, and you've got to watch your bills very carefully, and actually take your utility bill with you when you go to ctenergy.com to see exactly, so you understand how the rates work, and to make a good educated decision and not get stuck in a situation like this.
And that's an impartial website, I'm presuming, the ctenergy.com you just mentioned, where people can gather information. Being informed, of course, is power.
Right, absolute power.
Howard Schwartz from the Better Business Bureau.